are well prepared for what lies ahead. To do that, we're going to need to have a spectacular, well-trained teacher workforce, and there are critical shortage areas that need to be addressed. And fortunately, since his very first day in office, this has been priority one for the 74th governor of Virginia. He has stepped into the Commonwealth with a rigorous agenda to address needs in public education and to find ways to support our teachers, our classrooms, and our school divisions through lots of different mechanisms. I've had the pleasure of getting to know his state superintendent of public instruction, Jillian Balo, and have had the pleasure of also getting to know the next person who's going to come up to the microphone, a dear friend of mine, Amy Gudera, who has had a long history in working with students to make sure that we have data integrity and transparency in how we serve our community. So without further ado, I would like to introduce the Secretary of Education for the Commonwealth of Virginia, Amy Gudera.
Good morning, and I'm going to also have the superintendent, my dear friend Jillian Balo, with me as well, because we spent a great time with students and with teachers today, so we're a little behind schedule, so we're going to make sure that we are fast. So Governor, you can come up here. This is an exciting day. Bridging the Gap, which we're so pleased to be announcing here in this beautiful school at the beginning of a new school year, which is always full of hope and new opportunities and fresh starts. That's the spirit with which we are now announcing Bridging the Gap. As Dr. Taylor just said, we know that our schools are not serving every children as well as they need to. We have that data, we have our SOL scores. When we look at data in a longitudinal way, we can see every child. And now what we want to do is make sure that it's not just that we see every child, we are making sure that we are serving every child in a very personalized way to make sure that every child is on track to be successful in life. And that is our shared goal. And that's what we just talked about in the roundtable in a really exciting and thoughtful conversation. And there were two themes that came out of that roundtable I want to share with everybody that did not have the privilege of being in that table. One is that this has to be a team effort. We know that students, parents, teachers, when this team works together, anything is possible. And that's working together to make sure that every student gets what he or she needs to be back on track for success and to fly and to be prepared for life. We also know that data matters. We know that having access to data is not enough. Just throwing data at teachers, throwing data at parents without explaining it, without making it be understandable, without it being tailored, without it being actionable, and without it being timely, doesn't lead to any kind of change. And what we want is data to be the beginning of a conversation where we're changing conversations, we're changing decisions, we're changing actions, and most importantly, we're changing results and we're changing lives. We are changing today with Bridging the Gap how we use data in the Commonwealth of Virginia. The bottom line is, starting today, data will be used as a flashlight and not a hammer in the Commonwealth. We are going to make sure that people are empowered with data, they're informed with data, and they're using data to improve the results of all of our children in the Commonwealth. So 3 components of Bridging the Gap. 1, we are going to make sure that data is presented in a way to parents, teachers, and students that they don't have to work at midnight to figure out what the data says. We are going to take all the data that's already collected and provide a data snapshot that makes sure it makes sense about where is my child, where are the kids in my classrooms. A student to understand, am I on track for success? That's what we know every teacher, every parent, and every student wants to know. Am I doing okay and am I on track? Second piece, we are going to make sure that our teachers know how to have the hard conversation with parents and with students when students are not on success. So we're going to provide this training to make sure that using best practices from the national level, but also what we're going to learn from a pilot program working with local school divisions about how do we communicate around using information and using this data as a tool for improvement. And lastly, this is about creating personalized learning plans for every child in K-8 who is further behind than they need to be, and to figure out how do we use that information, how do we use evidence to make sure that we are seeing every child and providing that personalized education and interventions to get that child on track. So this is about using data and using partnership to make sure that we see every child and that we address every child where they are and get them where they need to be. I'm going to turn over to the superintendent now to talk about why this is so important to do in partnership with our school divisions and with parents and with students and teachers across the Commonwealth.
Thank you, Secretary. It's been so exciting to hear the school divisions express their interest in bridging the gap and hear where they are now. Some are saying, we need to do this and we need your help. Others are saying, we do this, we have great tools, and we want to share those. And everything in between. That's what a pilot is all about. It's symbiotic. We learn from you, you learn from us, and we are looking so forward to bridging the gap together. Thank you. Governor, I have the honor of introducing Governor Youngkin, 74th Governor of Virginia, to come up and share his thoughts as well.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, first of all, I must say I want to thank the Eagles for letting us descend on you today. And we just so appreciate the hospitality, and I'm so impressed by the classes that I was able to visit. I wish I was in class with you, but more importantly, the dynamic nature of that classroom with extraordinary teachers and with students who are eager to participate, that was very special. And so thank you to the teachers. Just an amazing job. This is a special day because not only are we able to talk about what the transparency of great information can provide, but on top of that, we're able to begin to work through this pilot program, Bridging the Gap, and what that means to bring people together. Virginia schools have long enjoyed a reputation for academic excellence. But of course, what we saw happen during the pandemic was with schools being closed for an extended and unnecessary period of time, we in fact saw learning loss grow. And it makes one sad to think that we have a whole generation of students who in fact aren't fully prepared, haven't been able to benefit from the great opportunities that Virginia's education system can provide. And so that's why I am very excited about what Bridging the Gap stands for. It is a moment for us to bring transparency and real information to each student. It's a moment for us collectively to work together with individual learning loss plans and how to put the team together, parents, student, teachers, and maybe others, in order to best address that particular student's needs, where we get to see that student where they are and then work together with a flashlight, yes, Madam Secretary, in order to chart a path forward. And then finally, to support the training necessary to prepare teachers for these discussions with students and with parents so that they can be most productive, so that it is a path forward. That is what's so exciting about this pilot. 15 school divisions working together to share learnings. Over 160, almost 170,000 students engaged in this pilot, K through 8th. And the learnings that will come out of this will in fact inform the further rollout across the Commonwealth. I'm so excited about the fact that we together can bridge the gap because we need to. We need to. Now, what I've also heard today is the tremendous stories about teaching and the role that teachers play when they partner with parents and a student. Inspired teaching. And we have a challenge. We have a challenge across our nation, and we have a challenge here in the Commonwealth, where we have a shortage of teachers. And while this is not a new problem, we in fact, when we combine the shortage of teachers with the learning loss challenge and the lesson that we all know, that when a student is in the classroom with a teacher in person, that's where the magic happens. And so when we have a shortage of teachers and we're trying to bridge the gap, we've got to work extra hard in order to close the gap of teachers as well. And so today, we in fact have the great privilege of signing an executive directive to put us all in motion to try to close that gap as well. And that is removing as many obstacles as we can to address this near-term challenge and also the long-term challenge of making sure that we have in every classroom extraordinary teachers like the two I had a chance to visit with today. So this executive order is an aggregation of initiatives. We have complicated challenges across the Commonwealth of Virginia. And in order to address them, we have to bring multiple solutions to bear. There's no silver bullet in anything. And we have to recognize that when we bring multiple initiatives to bear on a single problem, we give ourselves a much better chance of solving it. And so, yes, I was very pleased to be able to sign our budget this past June. I was a little frustrated it took so long to get to me, but I was very pleased to be able to sign our budget in June that included a 10% raise for teachers. And as I was asked today in one of our classes, how is that going to be rolled out and is there a plan for that? And I love the fact that that question came because students care about their teachers. So 10% over the next 2 years, a bonus in December. And we need to continue to work on this. We know it, and we know it. I was also very pleased in the education budget that we signed, which, by the way, was the largest in the history of the Commonwealth of Virginia, to be able to have innovative ways to support school construction and renovations across the Commonwealth, to introduce lab schools that bring innovation into the public school system. It's a collaboration between colleges and community colleges, and oh, by the way, influenced by businesses and what they want to see in the curriculum. It is really exciting. But there's so much more we need to do. And so this executive directive that I'm signing today will cover a number of fronts. First, we will let high-quality teachers teach. We have a challenge today where there are teachers who have retired who want to come back. We have teachers who have moved on to another profession who would like to come back and teach. We have teachers from other states who have moved to Virginia. We have people with extraordinary qualifications in a particular field who would like to teach in that field. And the challenges of getting a license are real. And so I will direct Superintendent Balo and her entire team to work in order to make that path easier, to make it faster, to recognize that we must have high quality teachers, but let's get them in the classroom faster. Second is we will work hard to build the pipeline of K through 12 teachers. And that will include a no-cost apprenticeship program. So this is where government has to work together. And so in addition to Superintendent Balo, and in addition to Secretary Gudera, our Secretary of Labor must get engaged, and we will form an apprenticeship program to provide those that are in the process of getting their education in teaching to have an apprenticeship program to get on the job, real-time training, but also be in the classroom where they can contribute immediately. Third, we are going to target teacher recruitment and retention efforts in communities that are most in need. And how do we, in fact, direct the resources that are available across the state with, in fact, recruitment bonuses and targeted efforts in order to move more quickly to get the best teachers where we need them the most, in those areas that are most in need. Fourth, we need to know the needs through accurate and timely data on why teachers have left the profession. Why do we have vacancies? And so we will initiate a comprehensive program to routinely collect this data. You know, with data, there's information, but you have to collect it routinely. And so we want further insights, feedback from all teachers on things that can enable them to, in fact, stay in the profession and have a career, have a full career. And finally, one of the areas that we already know that teachers find most difficult is balance. The balance across the huge demands that are placed upon them and the fact that they have lives too. And so at the top of the list is childcare and early education. And so we have had a huge emphasis on building further opportunities for early childhood education and childcare across the Commonwealth of Virginia. I believe strongly that if you're not kindergarten ready, you're not life ready. And oh, by the way, the early childhood educators and the educators that work in our childcare environments, They are the workforce that support the workforce. And so this executive director will make sure, and I will ask Superintendent Balo to direct her to make sure that the accessibility and availability of childcare and early education opportunities for our teachers are clear, apparent, and accessible. This is the beginning. This is the beginning of an accelerated program in order to not just bridge the gap for our children, but to close the gap in having a great teacher in every single classroom. So with that, I get to go to work. And as part of our job today, we are in fact government students initiating government action. And it's one of the great privileges as governor that I can do is I can direct our government to go to work. And so today we're going to direct our government to go to work in order to not just bridge the gap, but close the gap in a teacher shortage across the Commonwealth of Virginia. So let's go to work. So this is Executive Directive number 3, addressing teacher shortages in the Virginia schools. And it clearly expresses all of the points that I just described. Most importantly, it puts things in motion on an accelerated time frame so that we can, in fact, address teacher shortages in Virginia schools. And it is my privilege as the governor of the Commonwealth of Virginia to sign Executive Directive number 3. Thank you all for being here today, and thank you for loving the kids who go to school here and across Stafford County and across the Commonwealth of Virginia. And thank you to all the students, and I guess I have one small piece of advice. Do your homework and get to class on time. There we go. Thank you all very, very much. Awesome. Here we go.
This is the part where I get to offer some closing remarks and to say, students, may you have a wonderful rest of your day. I'd like to thank the administration at Colonial Forge High School. Thank you, Mr. Daniel and your team for supporting. Thank you to my staff for being here today as well. To our outstanding parents, Ms. Stoddard and Mr. Marshall, for joining us during our roundtable. Thank you all so much for being a part of this special day. I'm very fond of this saying that I like to tell my team, which is that you don't have to be the best, but you do have to be the best at getting better. And every day offers us the opportunity to get a little bit better, but we need to know where we are to know where we're going. And this is an important part of that process. Thank you all so much for being a part of Stafford County Public Schools today. Thank you, Governor, for your easy manner with our students and for visiting our classes today. We really appreciate everything that you're doing for us. Thank you.
Thank you all. All right. Back to class.